The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Commander Zarthok strode through the crystalline doors, his 7-foot frame casting shadows across the polished obsidian floor. Behind him, tethered by an ornate leash of pure platinum, walked something that made the assembled delegates lean forward in their seats with barely concealed amusement. A human. A tiny one at that. Lyra stood no taller than 4 feet, her diminutive frame dwarfed by the towering alien dignitaries that surrounded her. Her oversized jacket hung loosely on her shoulders, and her boots, clearly too large, made soft shuffling sounds against the floor. To the gathered representatives of 1,000 worlds, she looked like a child playing dress-up in adult clothing. "This," announced High Arbiter Krell, his mandibles clicking with poorly suppressed mirth, "is what the humans send as their representative." Laughter rippled through the chamber. The Vraxian ambassador's tentacles quivered with glee. The Korthian delegation produced a series of guttural barks that passed for humor in their culture. Even the usually stoic crystalline collective seemed to shimmer with what might have been amusement. Commander Zarthok raised one clawed hand, his scales gleaming under the chamber's artificial suns. "The human vessel we intercepted claimed this creature was their most valuable cargo. They surrendered their entire ship rather than let us harm her." His eyes, like pools of liquid mercury, swept across the assembly. "I brought her here so the Council might understand the delusion of this species. They worship weakness. They treasure fragility." Lyra said nothing. Her dark eyes moved slowly across the chamber, taking in every exit, every guard position, every weapon mounted on ceremonial pillars. Her fingers flexed once, twice beneath the flowing sleeves of her jacket. "Perhaps we should return her to the humans as a gesture of goodwill," suggested Ambassador Threen, her crystalline form refracting light in rainbow patterns. "Surely they miss their pet." More laughter. Louder this time. "Actually," Zarthok's voice carried a predatory edge, "I propose we demonstrate what happens when a species builds their society around protecting the weak." He turned to his elite guard, 12 warriors, selected from the finest combat specialists across the Dominion. Each stood over 8 feet tall, armored in quantum-locked battle suits that could withstand plasma fire. Their weapons could level buildings. Their training spanned decades. "Form a line," Zarthok commanded. "Let us see if the humans' most valuable cargo can breach even a single rank of our defensive formation. If she succeeds," he paused for dramatic effect, "we will consider opening diplomatic channels with Earth. If she fails, humanity will formally submit to Dominion rule." The guards formed a perfect line across the chamber's center, their weapons charged and ready. Behind their visors, tactical displays tracked every microscopic movement in the room. Their suits' AI systems ran 1,000 combat scenarios per second. Lyra tilted her head slightly, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. When she spoke, her voice was soft, almost apologetic. "Commander Zarthok, before we begin, I should probably mention something. What could you possibly have to say, little pet?" Zarthok sneered. "I'm not humanity's most valuable cargo." Lyra's hands moved to her jacket's clasps. "I'm their most dangerous cargo." "There's a difference." The jacket fell away. Beneath it, Lyra's body was a tapestry of scars and synthetic muscle fiber. Cybernetic enhancements ran like rivers of silver across her arms. Her spine glowed with a soft blue light, a military-grade neural accelerator that made her nervous system operate at speeds no natural being could match. On her hip hung a weapon so small it looked like a child's toy. In her eyes burned something the aliens had never seen before in a creature so small. Absolute, unwavering confidence. "I'm a Valkyrie," she said simply. "We're what humans create when diplomacy fails." Zarthok's laugh was sharp and dismissive. "You expect us to fear?" Lyra moved. One moment she was standing still. The next, she was a blur of motion that the chamber's sensors struggled to track. The first guard's armor, quantum-locked, impenetrable, rated to withstand orbital bombardment, simply shattered as Lyra's fist connected with his chest plate. The kinetic force dampeners, designed to dissipate energy across the suit's entire surface, overloaded instantly. The guard flew backward, crashing through a ceremonial pillar. The other guards opened fire. Lyra danced. Plasma bolts traced patterns through the air where she had been nanoseconds before. Her movements seemed to predict the guards' actions before they made them. She twisted, rolled, and leaped with a grace that made the assembled aliens gasp. Her small stature, which they had mocked, became her greatest advantage. She slipped beneath attacks that would have vaporized a larger opponent. She moved through gaps in their formation that shouldn't have existed. Her weapon, small, unassuming, sang a song of destruction. Each shot was perfectly placed, finding the microscopic seams in the guard's armor where joints met plating. Suits worth more than small planets sparked and failed. Warriors with decades of combat experience fell before a human who barely reached their waists. The seventh guard tried to grab her. Lyra caught his arm, used his own momentum against him, and sent him crashing into his companions. The eighth and ninth guards attempted a pincer movement. She jumped, planted her feet against the eighth guard's chest, and launched herself at the ninth, her boots connecting with his helmet with enough force to crack the quantum-reinforced faceplate. 30 seconds. That's all it took. 12 elite guards lay scattered across the chamber floor, their suits smoking, their weapons discharged and empty. And in the center of it all stood Lyra, breathing normally. Not even winded. The Galactic Council chamber was absolutely silent. Lyra walked calmly toward Commander Zarthok, her boots clicking against the obsidian floor. The alien commander, for the first time in his long military career, took an involuntary step backward. "You laughed at my size," Lyra said quietly. "You called me a pet. You saw weakness where you should have seen efficiency." She gestured at the fallen guards. Humans learned a long time ago that the biggest predator isn't always the strongest. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the room is the one you underestimate. She picked up her jacket, dusted it off, and draped it back over her shoulders. "Now, Commander Zarthok, let's discuss those diplomatic channels. Unless you'd like me to demonstrate what a full Valkyrie battalion can do." High Arbiter Krell's mandibles had stopped clicking. Ambassador Threen's crystalline form had lost its amused shimmer. The Vraxian's tentacles hung limp and still. Commander Zarthok looked at the tiny human before him, really looked this time, and saw not a pet, not a weakling, not something to be mocked. He saw humanity's answer to a hostile galaxy, small, efficient, and absolutely terrifying. "The Council," he said slowly, his voice stripped of all arrogance, "will be honored to open diplomatic relations with Earth." Lyra smiled. "I thought you might see it that way."